Ladies and gentlemen, referee Jason Herzog has called a stop to this contest at 35 seconds of the very first round. Declaring the winner by TKO, Derrick the Black Beast Lewis.
That's crazy. USA in this hole. A lot of ground and pounding. Ground and pounding. She know what it is.
That's right. You know what it is. The Ground and Pound podcast, the show where, as always, we're hitting you with them elbows of knowledge. And I'm here to recap the whole UFC Nashville card. Lewis taking on Teixeira in the main event. The People's Champion getting it done here. The Black Beast with the first round knockout. Wonder Boy getting touched by the judges in the second round. And as always, if you're enjoying the content here on the Ground and Pound podcast, hit that like and subscribe button as we kick things off in the early prelim opener of Kline was able to get the head kick knockout. Performance of the night bonus here against Melissa Martinez. The third round TKO victory for her. Got her another $50K in the bank. And I don't think a lot of people saw this fight going exactly how it went. I think a lot of people, including myself and Carlos, thought that Kline was going to be able to get takedowns early and often. Maybe find the submission on the ground. Obviously, we know that she trains with Aaran Blanchfield and has pretty much a grapple-heavy approach. Martinez doing a fantastic job of keeping this one on the feet for as long as it lasted. And I was expecting this one to kind of be a back and forth exchange really throughout the whole course of the 3 rounds if this one remained on the feet. But Kline showing that, she's not just a grappler, she's not just a wrestler, which she even said on the post-fight interview. She usually likes to get it done with her wrestling, but showing that she can strike as well. And you don't tend to see a head kick knockout thrown on the left-hand side after a punch thrown from the left-hand side. So in this case, throwing the jab and then following up by a high kick, you do not see that combination very often. It obviously paid off for Kline. Martinez pretty much staggered, wobbled, and that was all she wrote. A pretty brutal head kick knockout. Really kicked things off well for this card. It was pretty much a means to how this fight card was going to play out. Kline getting the $50K bonus. Hats off to her to really get this card started. And Kline, again, showing that, there's more than just wrestling in her back pocket here. She can get it done with the hands. So hats off to her. $50K well earned. And next up, we had Mike Davis getting the victory here with the hands, starting off with the wrestling here against Mitch Ramirez. You can see in that first image there, getting it done with the flying knee. That was pretty much the beginning to the end here for Mitch Ramirez. Davis decided in the first round to come out and wrestle. He got a pretty big, impactful takedown in the first round, was able to take the back of Mitch Ramirez, and ultimately trying to look for the submission. He was fishing for the neck in the first round. Mitch did a fantastic job of fighting the hands, and pretty much Mike was just having a difficult time being able to really cinch in that rear naked choke. But we saw in the second round that Davis looked a little bit tired, a little bit worn. Mitch looked like he was building in confidence, and all of a sudden Mike Davis comes out. He starts throwing the hands, which is exactly what Carlos and I thought was going to happen from the jump. Came out and was able to get the knockout. He threw that flying knee to close the distance, came in with a couple of combinations, tagged Mitch Ramirez, and was ultimately, that was all she wrote. Inside the distance was one of our legs here for Mike Davis on our best bets for our slam of the week. Now 7 of 8 on our best bets for that slam of the week. Mike Davis is getting it done here inside the distance. And I got to say, man, I think Mike Davis might be a little bit overrated. I mean, I expected him to be a big favorite here. I expected him to get it done by finish, but he's just kind of been a little bit inconsistent. I don't know what it is about him, his inactivity, or whether it's injuries. I'm not too sure, but he comes out, he looks fantastic in fights. He has moments, but he just doesn't seem to be able to put it all together. And Carlos and I were both saying, we were texting each other during this fight, we were saying, I think ZM would absolutely mop the floor with him again. It doesn't look like he's made too many improvements. I just think he was head and shoulders better than Mitch Ramirez on the night. And ultimately, I expected him to get it done inside the distance. That's why we had him for the slam of the week for our first leg. And he got it done, and obviously in a dramatic fashion here. I'd like to have seen him been able to get the rear naked choke so it was a little bit less of a sweat, but I think he might be a little bit overrated here. Mike Davis, maybe back to the drawing board. He's talented. The guy's very athletic, can get it done with the hands, can get it done with the grappling, but there's just something not quite right there with Mike Davis. So hopefully he can put it all together. I think he's very talented. I don't think Mitch Ramirez is even UFC level, but he gets it done for us for the slam of the week, making it 7 out of 8. And next up, we have the heel hook king now for Valter Walker. 50K performance of the night bonus for him. 3 heel hooks in a row in the heavyweight division. That's pretty much unheard of. Valter Walker, man, coming out very, very aggressive early in round 1. I know Carlos and I both did pick Kennedy Nzechukwu, but I do have to admit, I said to Carlos, and you can go back and check it out on the breakdown, I pretty much said the only way I think Valter Walker comes in here and gets this victory is if he comes out very, very aggressive, gets in the face of Kennedy Nzechukwu, because Kennedy can be a slow starter at times, and that's exactly what happened. He just smothered him early. He ran at him. He shot a takedown from absolutely miles out just to close the distance. Kennedy looked a little bit starstruck. He looked a little bit, not ready for that. And Valter Walker was able to get into a grappling exchange, ultimately throwing combinations to shoot him for a takedown, got Kennedy's guard up, shot underneath, rolled for a leg, and ultimately that was all she wrote. You can see the different variations of heel hooks in Valter Walker's game. 50K bonus again for the man, and he's looked impressive ever since he's had that UFC debut. He came in out of shape. Since he's been able to drop that weight, he's looking lean, he's looking mean, he's getting it done with the grappling. 50K bonus, well earned. He's somebody to watch in the heavyweight division, man. I'm telling you, I know I picked Kennedy, but I just thought that what was going to happen here was Walker was going to come out aggressive, Kennedy was going to stuff the takedowns, and from then on, it was going to be downhill for Walker with the striking, because Kennedy is the better striker. But ultimately, he did exactly what I thought Walker's best path to victory was to come out aggressive. So hats off to him. Very, very impressive. And I think the sky's the limit with this guy. I mean, we've seen in the heavyweight division, it's not necessarily the most skilled division. We can talk about that later on with Petrino in the main card. But I think the grappling here of Valter Walker can get him pretty high up in the rankings at heavyweight. He is very, very skilled. Obviously training with his older brother as well. The guy's pretty much coming out and just flatlining people in the first round with that heel hook. So be interesting to see, if we can get a higher level ranked opponent, what they can do, if they can avoid the ground with him. But hats off to him, man. 50K bonus, another impressive performance. And next up, we had Moura being able to get the unanimous decision victory here over Lauren Murphy. And this one, I mean, probably one of the lesser interesting fights on the card. There was a little bit of an oh shit moment in the third round. Moura was able to win the first and second round pretty unanimously, pretty one-sided. She was winning with the striking. She was able to get the takedowns in the rounds 1 and 2. And it just looked like her gas tank had been depleted in that third round. Murphy, known for her toughness, known for her cardio. She was able to kind of have a little oh shit moment where she was able to get Moura in a guillotine, constantly pressing forward, constantly going for it. She left everything in the octagon. She should be proud of herself. I know she's obviously now 41 years old. She's retired. She wanted to obviously make this her last fight and just really just leave everything out there in the octagon, and she did exactly that. But I think everybody knew this one was going to be one-way traffic. Moura obviously putting it pretty much just the pedal to the metal in the first 2 rounds with the striking and the grappling, tired her out. And Murphy, did what she was supposed to do to try to get the finish in the third round. The guillotine was pretty deep. Moura did a good job of being able to withstand it and ultimately getting the unanimous decision victory here. And I do say, Moura struggled to make weight in her previous 2 fights at a lower weight class. Her previous 2 fights inside the octagon, a UFC debut and the fight after that. Her previous fight when she fought against Hardy, she looked decent. Her cardio looked better. Obviously, she was pushed and tested to her limits here against a UFC veteran who's known for toughness and cardio. And ultimately, that's something she might have to work on now at this weight class, being able to fight a hard 3 rounds, pushing a tough pace, with a little bit more weight on her body. But Lauren Murphy obviously went out there, did what she was supposed to do. Obviously wasn't enough at the age of 41. Happy retirement. Lucky Lauren Murphy. Moura getting it done for us here as our pick. Obviously a confident pick. I think everybody saw this one coming. And next up, we had Matthews, man, getting the submission victory here in round 1 against Chidi Njokuani. And I got to say, man, I think Chidi rushed the get-up here. We saw early in this first round, for as long as it lasted, Chidi was blasting big body kicks. Came upstairs a few times. Matthews obviously have to be on his P's and Q's with the long, rangy kicks of Chidi. And ultimately, he was able to, sort of shoot him for a takedown and basically get on top. As Chidi tried to get up, he took the back. And I just think Chidi just rushed the get up a little bit too much here. Obviously not taking anything away from Matthews. Matthews is obviously a fantastic, opponent. This was a pretty much a good, well-rounded matchup here. I thought good matchmaking from the UFC here. I just felt like Chidi was going to be able to keep this one in the middle of the octagon, use his rangy weapons. But I think once Matthews shot him for that takedown, Chidi just basically just gave up his back and ultimately didn't fight the hands. He obviously, as you can see from the image on your left, he did try to sort of shake him off to the left-hand side. unfortunately, man, once you give up your back to high-level grapplers, Matthews obviously does have some submission victories. He did have a couple of rear naked chokes on his record. He was able to sink in the hooks. He was able to sink in that choke, and that was all she wrote. And I just think if Chidi sort of took his time a little bit here, he would have been able to get back to his feet and ultimately find success in the striking department. I think even Matthews said on the post-fight interview that, the submission, him being able to find the back and find the submission, that was like a 20-1 odds that he was going to be able to do that. He knows that and respects Chidi's game, but hats off to Matthews, man, getting it done here as the underdog. He did look fantastic. That's a good win for him, as Chidi's been very, very, very good at welterweight since moving down from middleweight. So hats off to him. Would have liked to have seen Chidi just have a little bit less urgency there to try to get back to his feet, kind of panicked and sort of stood up. But Matthews, man, getting the victory, pretty impressive. And next up, we had probably one of the more snoozing performances from the two older guys here. We had Chris Curtis obviously moving down from middleweight, fighting at welterweight, which he's fought in the past, getting the split decision victory here over Max Griffin. And my whole thing here, this was the second leg of our confidence slam of the week. Again, like I said, making it 7 out of our last 8 on our best bets, the one that I put the most money on every week. So cash in here with Chris Curtis, but a little bit of a sweat. He was a slow starter in this one. Didn't necessarily have the volume that he did in the last fight against Roman Kopylov. And we've seen with Max Griffin that, he was able to fight on the outside. He looked faster as well than Chris Curtis. We know that Chris Curtis likes to plant his feet and really rip and throw pretty much big leather in his hands. But Max Griffin did a fantastic job, especially early in this fight, of dancing around on the outside, kind of poking and prodding, using his speed, using his rangy weapons here to kind of frustrate Chris Curtis. And I think Max Griffin definitely took round 1. I gave Curtis rounds 2 and 3. I'm happy that he did get the decision. I don't disagree with this decision. I felt like it was pretty much 29-28 Chris Curtis, and it took him a little bit of a time to get going. I know he was frustrated with the head clash. I think it was more of an accidental coming together. You could see in that one that kind of Curtis was the one that really dipped into the headbutt there. But it wouldn't be a Chris Curtis fight without some sort of controversy. But getting it done for us here in our slam of the week. It'd be interesting to see how Chris Curtis does at middleweight. At welterweight. He obviously does want to sit down on his shots. He does have a little bit more pop, which is what I think really swayed the judges in this fight. I think he had the bigger, more impactful moments with his striking. But it's interesting because obviously I think he struggled with the speed of Max Griffin. So moving forward here at welterweight, be interesting to see how he really delivers and he's able to sit down on his shots against faster guys. Max Griffin, not necessarily known for being a fast guy, but obviously something maybe Chris Curtis has got to adjust to. I know they said he moved over to Thailand. Maybe it's something he'll be able to work on in his next training camp, but getting it done for us in our best bets slam of the week. That's all I care about. Chris Curtis getting it done here by split decision. And next up, we had the, I don't know why this one was on the main card. This made me laugh. We had Tokkos being able to get the arm triangle here. And first of all, we got to talk a little bit about Junior Tafa, man. I mean, is the takedown defense in the room with us? I mean, like, where is this guy's grappling game? As the Dagestanis would say, your grappling is 0. I think this guy's in negative numbers. This guy cannot defend a takedown if his life depended on it. This guy literally... You see in moments, Tuco, Tokkos, he goes in for takedowns, and basically all that Tafa wants to do is just land elbows in the clinch, not defending the takedowns. And we've heard Cormier say many times on the broadcast, when guys are looking to strike with those elbows, that they're not defending the takedowns, they're going to get taken down. It's basically just a Hail Mary, hoping that you're able to land some sort of cut, land some sort of damage before you do get taken down. Tokkos was able to get it done here with the arm triangle. He did a good job of being able to ride the positions. He got into mount. Obviously felt that he had the arm triangle, said something about his shoulder in the post-fight interview was damaged. He couldn't necessarily feel if the choke was in or not. He trusted his team in his corner, said that it was in. He went off to the side, he dropped the hips, and that was all she wrote. And Tafa, I will say, coming in, he did look a little bit better. He looked a little bit leaner and meaner. He looked like he was in better shape than we've seen him in the past. But this fight was pretty much back and forth. We saw Tuco, whatever the guy's name is. Both guys should be cut, let's be fucking honest. Tokkos was able to get the takedowns. He was able to ride out positions in the first round. Tafa was able to come out swinging after getting back to his feet. There was a moment there where we kind of looked like it might be another Tafa brother knockout, but ultimately the grappler gets it done here with the arm triangle. Looking for the rear naked choke, road positions. I think that ultimately it just wore Tafa down and was able to get that submission victory in the end. Why the fuck this one was on the main card, I don't know. And let's see what Tokkos has, man. He wants a UK card. Get the Londoner on the UK card. That's what I'm saying. Get him in the prelims there. Let's let him fight in his home country. Let's see what the guy has. Let's give him a chance. And next up, we have Petrino getting it done for his UFC heavyweight debut. And as I mentioned earlier, man, the heavyweight division is lacking in skill. It's got some big boys in it. It's got some hard-hitting guys. And I think Petrino, man, I think he could make some noise at heavyweight. I don't necessarily think that Austen Lane is proved. He's not proved anything against this guy. Austen Lane, obviously very chinny. Obviously getting it done here by first-round submission. Petrino not taking any chances, getting caught on the feet. Shot in for a takedown beautifully after throwing a couple of hands. Got the guard up of Lane here, was able to get the takedown, take the back, and ultimately find the submission. He was able to get into mount, again, looking for an arm triangle at one moment. Lane did a good job of being able to scramble once Petrino softened him up with ground and pound, gave up his back. Ultimately, that was all she wrote when Petrino gets the hooks in and ultimately finds the neck here for the rear naked choke. Petrino, he's a guy who, obviously, I mean, the guy's a fucking physical specimen. Just look at the guy. I think that he'll be best suited for heavyweight, man. I think that he cuts far too much weight probably to get to 205. You can tell from the legs. You can tell from the overall build. He does walk around well above 205. I think maybe that might hinder his performance. I think at heavyweight, he's a guy who isn't necessarily all that skilled. He's just a raw, very physically, dominant guy. I think that he can have success, in the lower level UFC heavyweight division. I think until he gets to the ranked opponents, he can really just run through a lot of these guys. I mean, the Tafa brothers, he would smash those guys. There's a few guys at heavyweight that kind of ring a bell. I think even if you took Valter Walker, I think Valter Walker might struggle to really, do that against Petrino. So it'll be interesting to see what he does there. I think he'd smash Kennedy into Nzechukwu, pretty much just being able to manhandle him early. And the guy's a very physically raw specimen. He's a great talent. I just think that the heavyweight division just lacks a lot of skill, and I think he can climb the rankings just being able to bully guys. I don't think he'll necessarily be anything special, but I think he can go on a much better run here, heavyweight, than he can pretty much than the light heavyweight division, which has a little bit more skill than the heavyweights do. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with him. And obviously, I think this is pretty much what we expected. He was a big favorite for a reason coming in, and he proved that with the first round rear naked choke. And next up, we had the fight of the night, and this one's a banger for as long as it lasted. Obviously, Morgan Charriere, the Pirate, getting it done by a knockout here. And I feel bad for Nate Landwehr, man. He's a fan favorite, obviously born and bred over there in Tennessee, in Nashville, Tennessee. This was pretty much back and forth. You had Morgan Charriere winning the first round with his striking. He lit up the calf of Nate the Train in the first round. You could see a huge welt on the side of that left leg or that left calf. And then pretty much I think Morgan Charriere kind of, I don't want to say took it off, but he almost looked like he was not necessarily gassed, but the second round he came out a little bit flat. Nate the Train obviously says all the time, I don't pretty much get into fights until I get hit. He came out in the second round like a dog, like he always does. Doubled up Morgan Charriere in the strikes. He looked like he was about to take over, and Morgan Charriere just said, "Nuh-uh, you're not taking this one from me," and was able to pretty much just blitz. All of a sudden, randomly got a second wind or something, but he pretty much just blitzed Nate the Train and ran over him like a train. He just big flurry up against the fence, pretty much got the knockout. Fan favorite of Nate the Train. And I feel bad for Nate the Train, obviously 37 years old, and you don't really want to see him start taking damage and getting knocked out. He's obviously known for his toughness and his durability, but getting finished in this one has me a little bit concerned. He did try to wrestle a single leg before the referee did jump in, but hats off to Morgan Charriere, man. He looked good. He showed the aggression, which he didn't want to leave it to the judges. And he looked like he was fading, but ultimately showed some toughness to bite down on his mouthpiece and ultimately get the $50K bonus here. Hats off to Nate the Train here for being able to come back and at least make this one a fight of the night instead of a performance of the night for Charriere. But $50K to both guys. Great fight. Definitely one to watch if you missed it. But ultimately, Charriere, the Pirate, getting it done. And one guy not getting it done, man. Obviously, the dog of the week, Calvin Kattar, not getting it done here for us on the Ground and Pound podcast. Feels bad, but Steve Garcia, hats off to him. He did what he was supposed to do. Pretty much unanimous decision here all the way through rounds 1 till 3. And I got to say, man, I know Carlos isn't here, so I don't want to say too many bad things about his boy, but I will just say that I don't think Calvin's necessarily been himself since that knee injury that he had in the Arnold-Allen fight. Obviously, he seems to come out a little bit slow. He struggles to find the range, and he just looks a little bit a step behind. I don't want to say that he's got the yips, but it kind of just looks like that. You know, in basketball, when guys get the yips, they struggle to shoot the free throws. They struggle to get going. They struggle to have confidence. He looks like he just struggles to get going in fights now, and we've seen that in the Yusuf Salal fight. He tends to leave it a little bit too late. He did it again here. You know, the third round, he pretty much started to, you know, have success when he was pressuring forward and making the fight, you know, kind of bringing the fight to Garcia. But Garcia, man, tough. The guy obviously comes out very aggressive. I would have liked to have seen Calvin get in his face early here. But Calvin, you know, obviously showing off of his chin. That's one thing that's never seemed to fade Calvin Kattar. The guy's a dog, 5-fight losing streak, though, now. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with Calvin moving forward. Shame is the guy's very, very talented, obviously a ground and pound favorite here. And Garcia, man, it'll be interesting to see what he does. But one thing I will say about Garcia is I don't know how much we take out of that. I know Calvin, obviously, you know, 5-fight losing streak, kind of on the decline at the moment. But it'll be interesting to see, you know, what that does for Garcia moving forward. I know some of the people he had knocked out previously, they weren't necessarily high-level guys. Now he's in the ranking, and it'll be interesting to see what he does with that aggressive style and guys that aren't necessarily on their way down. Unfortunately, Calvin, man, all the best. I hope that he, you know, gets to bounce back. I hope that he does come back, but he has looked a little bit of a step slow since that knee injury, unfortunately. But dog of the week, it'll be back. You can never keep a good dog down. Hats off to Steve Garcia, man, for getting it done. That's all I can say. And next up, we had the this decision, man. This decision was absolute bullshit. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson getting touched by the judges, man. I don't necessarily, obviously I picked Bonfim in my picks, but I did say, you know, obviously for our best bets, we had Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in the prop section by decision. Plus 550, we had Stephen Wonderboy plus 3.5. I believe that was like plus 200. That cashed for us, so that was great for the bettors. But I was disappointed, man. That I think the judges got this one far wrong. All the big impactful moments, all the striking came from Wonderboy. You saw in this fight pretty much that the first round you could argue for Bonfim. After that, rounds 2 and 3 to me were all Wonderboy. You can make a stronger case that Wonderboy won all 3 rounds than you can that Bonfim won this fight. In the first round, obviously, it was a little bit sort of tit for tat. Both guys having their moments, but not a whole lot happening. Wonderboy stuffing the takedowns, landing some of the better shots on the feet. Bonfim obviously mixing in the grappling like we expected said on our breakdown. And one of the things that I did credit Bonfim for is he did check one kick that really cut Wonderboy's shin open bad. It had a pretty nice gash on there. I know that the commentary team didn't want to look too much at it, a little bit squeamish. That's how bad that cut was, so check that one out. But second round, Wonderboy lands a big head kick late in that round. Definitely a Wonderboy round, no doubt about it. And I think it just really came down to the third round. And I go back to the Jose Aldo fight with Mario Batista, man. These judges are scoring these fights where they're valuing the guy that's hugging a guy against the fence doing no damage. So how are we going to play this? You know, we've got Wonderboy here landing the big shots out in the open, blasting kicks to the body, blasting kicks to the head, landing the better shots, you know, without a doubt. Obviously then coming out in the third round, you know, Bonfim knew that he needed to grapple. He knew that he was close. It was a close fight. Obviously pushing Wonderboy up against the fence, but he didn't control Wonderboy on the ground. Wonderboy got up pretty much every single time, almost immediately, and was landing no damage. So all the damage was on the side of Wonderboy here. Obviously, the ring generalship was pretty much back and forth. But if you're just talking about the criteria, which we score every fight, the damage, the striking, that's the first level of criteria that we look at. The damage was all on the side of Wonderboy. I'm very disappointed again, but I've come to expect it, honestly, from a guy like Mike Bell. The guy's an absolute fucking idiot. The guy can't score a fight to save his life. The second I saw the judges' scorecards and I saw Mike Bell, I already knew that he'd scored it for Bonfim without even looking at the scorecard. Shame on the UFC, man. I sometimes wonder with these fights as well, like, do the UFC kind of just say, like, you know, we got a 42-year-old guy that we have to pay a lot of money in fights, that, you know, he's kind of over the curve, you know, and we've got a guy who Bonfim, who we obviously want to promote. You know, if it's a close fight, let's give it to the up-and-coming guy, because it just seems like that sometimes in the UFC. Let me know your take in the comments, who you guys had. Did you agree with the decision? Did you have Wonderboy getting robbed here? I felt like this one was pretty much clear, 29-28 for Wonderboy, rounds 2 and 3, and you can even make a case that he may have even won round 1, but I gave that one to Bonfim ever so slightly. But we got to do better, man. We got to look into this judges scoring. We got to look into maybe open scoring. We got to fix this because At the end of the day, even though we did cash on our bets, even though, we would have liked to have seen the prop hit for Wonderboy by decision, we did hit the plus 3.5, like I said, for our best bets. But I just think that sometimes when we're talking about, up-and-coming guys, we're talking about these guys' careers, wins, losses, monies. This is how they feed their family, and we're putting it down to a split decision by Mike Bell picking his nose halfway through fights. We just got to do a little bit better, in my opinion. But I thought he got robbed. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And if you're enjoying the content, hit that like and subscribe button as we talk about the main event. Derrick the Black Beast Lewis getting it done for us here in the prop section of our best bets. We had him first round knockout, and he delivers as always. The fan favorite, man. You got to love Derrick Lewis. If you don't like Derrick Lewis, then what are you doing? You're just a hater. The guy is always one to watch. The guy is always live for a knockout, and that's why we took him in the prop section for plus. It was plus 650, I do believe, first round knockout. Obviously getting it done for us here. And one thing you got to say as well, the post-fight interview, which you can see, at the start of this video with the recap, the guy is just a fan favorite. He knows what to say. He's great on the mic, talks to the president. I'd love to see, maybe him fight at the White House, just throwing that one out there. Maybe we'll do a little video about that in the upcoming weeks. But Derrick Lewis, man, getting it done early. And one thing I do have to credit for him here, we see a lot of guys at 40, Wonderboy, Lauren Murphy. They don't necessarily have a whole lot of success in the lower weight classes, but Derrick Lewis, 3-month camp here for this fight at the stellar age of 40 in the heavyweight division. Guys can still get it done here at heavyweight just because of the power, and that's one thing that Derrick Lewis does carry. Does a fantastic job of closing the distance in this one. You could see him draw out the attack of Teixeira. Teixeira throwing heavy leather, leaving himself exposed, and Derrick Lewis blitzed, was able to throw the overhand, then the left hook. The left hook landed, dropped the 6'7" Teixeira, and that was all she wrote. Derrick Lewis swarmed him from there, getting the first round knockout here to cash again for our best bets. Obviously, unfortunate Calvin Kattar didn't get it done for us for the dog of the week, but our best bets were pretty strong this week. And I'm happy, man. We got 2 props. The one was pretty close, obviously, with the Wonder Boy. Sometimes you just got to chalk that up to bad judging. That was definitely the right play. And Derrick Lewis, man, the fan favorite. He's obviously going to be an even more of a fan favorite here for us on the Ground and Pound podcast with that first round bet knockout that we had. And as I always say, man, if you're enjoying the content here, hit that like and subscribe button. Let me know in the comments who you guys had in that Wonderboy fight. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know. Let me know what you think as well is going to be next for Derrick the Black Beast Lewis. Is he going to fight at the White House? Is he going to ascend the rankings? Maybe it might be Tom Aspinall's next opponent. Who knows? But as I always let you guys know what we have coming on the channel, you do not want to miss this week's action here on the Ground and Pound podcast. We have the PFL Africa card, the first one in Africa in Cape Town. That is going to be a banger. I checked this card out weeks in advance. This card has got some names on it. It should be a great card. Full card breakdown coming to you here on the Ground and Pound podcast. Carlos and I will have that video up for you early this week. And obviously UFC 318, we have the retirement fight for Dustin the Diamond Poirier taking on Max Holloway, the BMF champion. Be interesting to see how this one plays out. A full stack pay-per-view card at 318. I think there's something like 15, 16 fights on this one. Carlos and I are going to break the whole damn thing down. And if you're enjoying the content, as I always say, hit that like and subscribe button, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.